So in this video, I'll be introducing you to my vision in terms of the philanthropy component or the charity component of this project. Now, when I talk about the philanthropy or charity component, I'm talking about at the end of this, the dev wallet, which you can check on the blockchain if you're familiar with how to do that. But that is going to be going to a private foundation that basically then turns around and engages in a combination of grant making, which is another way for saying giving money to nonprofits to carry out their mission. And I'll talk about a little bit about my mission and why I want to do this and why I'm so passionate about it. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the philanthropy I've done in the past and how it ties into this and why I'm launching a meme coin project that's not just a meme coin, it's also an access coin where we're creating events and a community around this, because I've been wanting to. It's often said for people in that space that sometimes you deal with the struggle of, and there's lots of ways you can say this, but of choosing between doing things that your heart is calling you to or doing things that are practical or that your bank account is calling you to, so to speak. Meaning that if you have to work a job that you maybe aren't passionate about when you'd rather do something else, that is often the case in things like philanthropy or even social work. People that are drawn to making a difference in the community oftentimes will settle for less pay because they would rather do something that they are passionate about than something that drains them. And so for me, I've been wanting to do this for a while, and one of my favorite quotes is that success is the dance between the thing you desire the most and the thing you fear the most. And so right now for me, launching this project in conjunction with some of the other projects that I'm launching, which the other projects I'm mentioning specifically are NFT projects that are ancillary to this, but not directly related, but they're about me, and when they come out, that will make a little bit more sense because you'll get a kind of an introduction to them. But those projects are really about kind of trying to combine both and making a leapfrog jump into philanthropy and starting my foundation and going into the nonprofit space. And the cause I'm particularly passionate about is empowering entrepreneurs. And the reason that I believe in empowering entrepreneurs, and there's lots of ways you can do that, as well as empowering other organizations. And that's not the cause of the foundation per se. The foundation is, like I said, a source of funding and grant. It has the ability to make grants or basically give money to other nonprofits. So there's lots of ancillary causes that you, as a token holder, will have a say in, and you'll get to vote on the changes that you want to see done and things that you want to see made better in the world and your local communities even. And so that's really the purpose of this launch and why I'm including the access token component of it, so we can have events where we get to bond. And the minimum thought is, like I said, have at least a once yearly event, and I explained that more in that video about the access token component. But also, when we look at the voting component with blockchain technology, there's mechanisms in place where it's easy to quote unquote vote or take a poll inside of the community from holders based on wallet addresses, and doing something like that where people can vote on the direction of a foundation that specifically targets causes you are passionate about is what we are creating essentially. And the reason I bring up my cause about empowering entrepreneurs is because for me, entrepreneurship was the thing that gave me the highest sense of self-esteem, and that was more important and more powerful than any amount of money I made as an entrepreneur by starting businesses or selling businesses. And in the beginning, a lot of my entrepreneurial endeavors were just enough to pay myself. I wasn't really building a business. I was more just self-employed, but it was a good feeling to know that I could feed myself and take care of myself. And so that's why I'm really passionate about that particular cause and that particular any nonprofits that are in that sort of space. And so, I currently volunteer with organizations that are involved in similar spaces in terms of I volunteer with an organization that goes into prisons and does this and teaches entrepreneurship to incarcerated individuals so that when they get out, they don't go back. And that's a great cause, and they actually reduce the recidivism rate from 2 out of 3, which is about 67, almost 70% reoffend and end up back in prison. And their recidivism rate is under 10%, which is very impressive. And it's directly empowering those communities. And so that's kind of the purpose of this whole mission in terms of it's a way for me to not just gain attention in the space in terms of we'll have when this project is successful and you help me make it successful, we will have lots of eyeballs watching and lots of people wanting to succeed. That's my belief. I believe people are hungry for change. I believe people are hungry to, you can either focus on negativity in life or you can focus on positivity. And if you go on the news, you're going to see negativity, because if it bleeds, it leads. Meaning if, it's negative, people tend to gravitate towards it. But there's also lots of positive things going on in the world that you can gravitate towards. And so this is an example of one of those things. And so by joining the project, you're really helping me on my journey to make the world a better place. And you're actually getting a voice in that journey as well, because you'll be a part of a community of a lot of like-minded individuals. There might be some degenerate apes that just want to ride this thing to the top and then, sell off at some point or sell along the way. And that's fine. That's why a lot of people get into the crypto space in the first place. And so that's understandable. You're going to have some of that. But I do think there will be an equal or larger amount of people that are a part of this community and a part of the space that actually want to be a part of the mission and actually believe in that long-term vision. And the holders who hold the longest will be rewarded the largest, because that's when things will get big. And when this ends up in a private foundation, it's not like it gets sold off. It remains as holdings, and then there's a small percentage that is distributed every year, is how kind of a foundation operates. And so that's kind of the mission of this. And part of what we want to do, or part of what I want to do, is at the end of this journey, because one of the missions I was thinking about when I was, since selling my company about a year ago, I've been figuring out various things that I want to pursue. And because I have a lot of passions and there's a lot of things I could do and be successful at. And I, would try something for a few months and be like, this is annoying, or I'm not feeling this. And there's a lot of different things. And it wasn't like there was one particular thing that really interested me. And this was something that was always in the future kind of vision that I had for myself, in the sense of philanthropy, because typically to do it right, if you're doing it, or to have maximum impact, it's easier when you have more means. And so rather than being a fundraiser where I start a nonprofit and then have to get grants, have to get money to carry out my cause and operate, I would rather be in a position where we can be on the other side of the fence and we can empower other people, and at the same token go into marketing for them to empower them from a marketing perspective. Because a lot of companies, not just nonprofits, but especially nonprofits, don't know how to necessarily market themselves effectively. And every time I get a letter in the mail from a nonprofit asking for a donation, and it's just, I look at the return on ad spend and I think, I can't believe it's kind of sad that they're spending their money on that piece of direct mail when they could spend it on something that's far more effective, especially if they had something at the helm helping them. And so I thought about building out a marketing company for nonprofits, and it was something where I could, in my original vision, was to work for them on a in-kind donation receipt basis, just because a lot of nonprofits, they can have lean budgets. Sometimes they have big budgets, but I don't necessarily want to eat into that. And so that's not my particular, doing a for-profit type of venture for that wasn't necessarily my passion. And so in the future, the private foundation could have either a separate division or it could just be an operating business. But again, we do things on an in-kind donation receipt where we build out a marketing company for some of these causes that we're supporting. Or we have a marketing division for these causes that we're supporting. And so that's kind of the vision that I want to be. I want to create. And that's it in, a nutshell. I could go on and on for hours and ramble, but I really just wanted to give you a high-level overview of what you're signing up for, what some of my thoughts are, so you could hopefully see my intentions and see that they're pure, and have some faith in the project and where we're actually going. And if this did help, please leave a comment or let us know in the group, how you received this, because I'm legitimately, I haven't seen a lot of crypto projects do anything near this at all. And so I don't know if it's going to be viewed as refreshing or disingenuous or what. If it's disingenuous, that's, it is what it is. I mean, if that's how it's perceived, because that's just about perception, not necessarily how I came across. I will still take that feedback to maybe tweak my messaging if something could come across in a different way. But the bottom line is, we're very passionate about the cause, and we hope you are too. And if you are, welcome to the community, and thank you for checking out this video, and make sure you check out some of the other videos that are in the community as well.